Hello everyone, this is Zweistein and this will be another Starfleet Fleet Operations Star Trek Armada tutorial for Akira Rush. Now today I am once again playing against my cousin. We're playing on the map called Reflections and yes, Akira Rush. There are two kinds of Akira Rushes. The one that sets up for a quick transition into warpings, and this is the one I'll be showing you today. I call it the high-tech Akira Rush because it requires you to build a lot of tech buildings, and the other one is the quantity-based Akira Rush. The other one builds more Akiras faster but forgoes the tech entirely in order to do that. So yes, what avatar is good for Akira rushing? Generally Reasoner. Reasoner gives a 25% cost reduction on starship chassis, therefore it's better. The Reasoner also gives an increase of offensive value to Akiras, but this particular Akira Rush can also be done with Mason. The other one is a lot harder. You will probably stall out if you do the quantity based Akira Rush with Mason, but this one is also good with Mason. And Admiral Mason has another bonus here, which is increased defensive value of Akiras. Basically, this is what happens when you go for the tech-based Akira Rush. We build a mining station and Starfleet Engineering. We upgrade our chassis level, so we research chassis level 1, and then with the other miner we grab another moon, this time Tritanium moon, with the constructor rather that completed the Starfleet Engineering. We immediately send it to the expansion where it builds only a shipyard and nothing else. That is because we are tech rushing. A tech rush is not an offensive rush like a warping rush. This tech rush, basically the idea behind it is we're grabbing mid-game ships early and we're foregoing early game ships for that. Our Akira, when it comes out, will be very hard for the enemy to get rid of, especially the way we're going to execute this, but it's going to come than regular Akiras, than regular ships rather. So yes, after we've built the shipyard at our expansion, we just wait there. We saturate our moons, and by the way, the miner order is very peculiar for this build, and we mustn't forget to grab chassis level 2 as soon as chassis level 1 is completed. When our shipyard is complete at our expansion, which is somewhere over here, we will grab Starfleet Science. When Starfleet Science is complete, which by that time our first Akira should about start building or already be building, depending on the distance between our main base and our natural expansion, we will grab defensive patterns, and this will be it. After we have defensive patterns, we're going to wait until we have 3 Akiras, or rather 2 Akiras and the third one building. When the third Akira is building, only then will we build a dilithium refinery at our expansion. That is because we're going to be using almost all of these resources plus the kinds we have mined and putting them into technology and into Akiras, and this will leave us with very little spare resources to actually build an expansion. Once our expansion is built our dilithium refinery at the expansion is built, we will again have to wait until the second Akira has started building after the construction of the Dilithium refinery before we can saturate it with our miners. With that complete, that's pretty much our tech rush done. At that point, we will either, depending on the situation, if the enemy is raiding us, we might want to get a redundant source of Tritanium going, and we will build a Tritanium refinery. If our enemy is not raiding us, we will accumulate enough Tritanium to build Starfleet command. One thing to note here is this Akira rush can potentially also be a Nova rush for Mason, but Novas are a lot squishier than Akiras. Yes, they're faster, but with Novas you're going to have a lot weaker presence, and Novas are support ships. They function much better when they have other ships to support with. The special weapon of the Nova adds an additional photon torpedo launcher to a nearby to 4 nearby ships that already have photon torpedo launchers. This is why Nova Rush can be done, but it's not as good as an Akira Rush. Now, for miners, I am not sure at this point if I mentioned how we're going to sort our miners. First miner is going to go mine Tritanium. The second one is going to mine Dilithium, because without Tritanium we're going to stall out on Tritanium. Without Dilithium, at least 2 miners on the Dilithium, we're going to stall out on the Dilithium. The third miner will go for a Tritanium again, because otherwise we will not have enough Tritanium in time to start researching defensive patterns. The final miner, the fourth miner, will then mine Dilithium in order to start saving up for that Dilithium expansion. And with that, this is pretty much it. We will see if our opponent is ready. Again, with the US keyboard, I can't write a question mark. I do not know where it is. It's different for my keyboard. Okay, so it begins. We pick Mason. Go set your scout to... I've noticed it's better to set your scout to green alert than yellow, because if it's set to yellow alert, it will rush in when nearby allied ships are in danger.
Starship construction commencing.
So the basic, very basic opener begins. Starfleet Engineering and mining.
Enemy engaged.
Alter course.
Our opponent is doing the same thing. I mean, not the same thing as us, but the same thing as always, opening up standardly, and will probably go for the double shipyard strategy. Now, what maps this is good for? This is good for either large maps, because our ships will be arriving a bit late, or for maps where you know that your enemy is going to go for tech rush. For example, this is good against Vorchar rushes, or against Dominion advanced shipyard rushes.
Enemy engaged.
Starship Chassis 1 going down for our opponent. Did he build another shipyard, or did he, I mean construction ship, or did he forget about that one? This miner is angry on our scout. can see this, because it looks at it very angrily when our scout moves. And here we go, we expand and then we build a shipyard and then we sit on it.
Research complete.
Ah, it's
Research
chassis level 1, just about finished.
station construction
Do not get confused by 4 miners here. One of them is the Tritanium miner and will return to its moon.
complete.
I might have
Complete.
botched my mining up, which means our defensive patterns will be slightly late. But it shouldn't matter too much.
Station complete.
Now our shipyard is complete, and what we do here is we just make sure that our constructor is ready to repair in case it comes under attack. Our opponent is Akira rushing. Wow, okay, interesting. With shipyard complete, we build Starfleet Science. And now we're just waiting for Starship Chassis level 2. Meantime, we're going to take a look to see if our opponent has expanded. As you can see, we now have just enough to start building. And monsoons on top of Akiras. I mean, on top of T2 chassis. Our opponent is trying to copy us. That is because I tried this out on him when he was in the previous game. I apologize for that word salad. I tried this out on him. I always try out the strategy to make sure it works. And he seems to be wanting to copy us. Anyway, over here, as you can see, we now have a lot of resources. You might be tempted to build a refinery here with these resources, but if we do that, we will not be able to construct second Akira. And it turns out that we will have just enough Tritanium, I think, to start researching.
Station
We obviously need to wait for this Akira. Akira's cost 168 Tritanium, so we can grab this as long as we go over 600. Yes, there you go.
research commencing.
As you can see, we now have defensive patterns coming
Starship
for this one Akira we have. Now we immediately take this Akira and go on the offensive. We want to keep the enemy busy. If they haven't attacked yet, we don't want them to attack. We want to keep them busy so we can expand here when possible. And this Akira is going to be pretty hard to destroy. With Admiral Mason, the Akira gets a 4-point increase to its defensive value, and with defensive patterns it becomes nearly unstoppable for this one monsoon that our opponent has. Still do not know why he went chassis level 2. It's a beginner mistake. He wavered. He must have changed his mind, and if you're doing this, follow through always. Never change your mind once you have chassis level 2 already researching, because your build will be off for anything else. See his long distance mining. He does not have a shipyard here. He's not responding yet. And here we go. We now have defensive patterns. Now, over here we wait for this Akira to start producing.
Starship complete.
Yes, now that that Akira is under construction, we are safe to go. Oh, okay, hello. Let's try to ignore the two monsoons. We are now safe to build our expansion storage dock. He is misinterpreting what I told him the previous game. I told him, do not run with your constructor to the main starbase, but that was because he had shipyard here. Here we fire off defensive patterns. Now we will still have to pull back a bit with this one, but the other Akira should finish the job. So let's start pulling back. And because this one is under defensive patterns, depending on if the opponent switches target, like over here, we can keep it somewhere nearby, wait for its shields to regenerate, which they are going to regenerate very fast. There you go. And you can see that we now barely have enough dilithium to start constructing another Akira.
Complete.
See, we pulled through by one dilithium,
Enemy engaged.
and this one can rejoin the fight now while we fire off defensive patterns on the other one. By the way, defensive patterns is a replace weapon, which means that the enemy ships will change fire when it is used. There you go, we managed to stop that, and that's a lot of resources down the drain. This is devastating for our opponent. But we do have to run away now. We do not have defensive patterns here. Okay, now with expansion complete, we can actually afford miners. And with that, this is our Akira rush for now. Now these small ships, they are a bit harder for our Akiras to deal with because of the reduced chance to hit with photon torpedoes. But they cannot deal with our Akira. And this is what we wanted. We wanted them to go away so we can harass the enemy.
Starship complete.
Okay, let's move this miner.
You got it. Helm, new course heading.
And he is abandoning this expansion.
Adjust heading.
Oh, he's not. He's rebuilding the shipyard, and we do not have enough ships nearby to stop it. But we have completely shut down his mining. And we will possibly even destroy his freighter.
Helm, new course heading.
Enemy engaged.
Now he's going to engage us with 3 monsoons, so what we need to make sure is we need to regroup our Akiras. At this point we've kept him off balance for long enough. We're going to attempt to get this kill and then get this Akira back to base. I apologize for the high latency. By the way, this is brought up by Alt T. Yes, very high latency. I do not know why.
Find the nearest shipyard. All set. sections stand by.
Right, let's pop defensive patterns to make sure the Akira returns home safely. As you can see, even with 4
Engage.
monsoons, Mason's Akira with defensive patterns is very hard to take down. Now, because our opponent is on the defensive and is not attacking us,
Helm, new course heading.
we are going to be going and building Starfleet Command next, as soon as this Akira pops out, because the worst thing to do when you're doing this kind of rush is to stop production. You will not have production to you will not have the ships to handle the enemy if you stop production. Welcome to Star Trek Armada, where 2 packets lost means infinite lag.
Armed and ready.
What can you do with a game that's at this point over 15 years old? Definitely, I think it's 16 years old. And there you go, it cleared up. As you can see, defensive patterns makes this ship regenerate very fast, so we can send it back into battle. We're just gonna have to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't get blown up. We're gonna have to pull it back immediately when it gets fired upon. Next step, warpins. Warpins add, first of all, they add free ships. Well, free as long as you don't lose them. Ships, and they will allow us to grab a Tritanium over here. You can see our opponent has now completely switched to Akiras as well, but probably does not have the means to produce them.
Armed and ready. Understood.
Let's stop. Let's kill this and then focus on the monsoons. 5 monsoons versus 5 Akiras. Shouldn't be too hard. Oh, he has focused this one. Perhaps we will get back. We will get enough energy to stay. Yes, just enough to stay in the battle. As you can see, he has to retreat. His ships are not adequate to deal with this. Now, if you're facing an Akira rush like this, you will not be able to deal it initially. The way you deal with an Akira rush is you slow it down, and you can slow it down by raiding. There you go, another Akira is here. That one got away.
All sections stand by.
As you can see, every second they're not firing on this ship, its shields regenerate. And they do that quite fast. And now we can... He is stalling out now. He knows that he can't deal with these Akiras anymore. So he's trying to mine here. But this is a waste of time and resources, because you can't deal with this. And with our Starfleet command nearly complete, this will become very dire for our opponent, and you need to return to base now. Okay, as you can see, we now have a small excess of dilithium, which is not bad because we will be using it to build a second shipyard right now. Let's send in the warpins. Now has to keep cycling, but we're at this point we're at a major advantage. I will send this guy back to repair,
Enemy
and I
engaged.
will order a construction of a shipyard here. As you can see, we can now continuously produce Akiras.
Unable to comply.
This warping caused a bit of lag. Ambassador is great here because it's another one of those ships that just do not want to die.
All sections stand by.
As you can see, transitioned from here. We could have transitioned into Excelsiors as well if we wanted to, but since we're pumping out Akiras, it's a very good idea to add some Novas into the mix there. As Novas will greatly
Complete.
increase the firepower
Station
of our fleet.
engaged.
Helm, new course heading. All sections stand by.
Let's kill that. Let's kill that Mediterranean. By the way, if you're under attack, if your shipyard's under attack, you do not have enough ships, do not stay and fight and do not build more ships from that shipyard. Every ship he builds from here is more experience to me, and please stop lagging the game, Ambassador.
Bring engines to full.
Fire, full burst.
As we can see, he can barely produce from one shipyard. Akiras are very expensive on the Dilithium, so a good target to raid on is the opponent's Dilithium. It will basically stop them dead.
Enemy engaged.
Oh, and we have 3 Akiras here that we can send to the front. I'm going to send these ships here, just so I have them in the same position. We will activate Ambassador Special. I forgot which one it is. The energy routing.
All sections stand by.
As you can see, it's very difficult for our opponent to deal with this, and with no ships to deal with us, we can go and send his we can start focusing on the opponent's shipyard to destroy it. With that, he will lose his foothold here entirely.
All sections stand by. Bring us into weapons range.
I do apologize if this video is a bit longer. The lag is making it difficult to end it quickly. Oh, he's attempting to counterattack, but this will not end well, as 1 Akira versus 3 is not a winning combination. Note that at this point we have pretty much won the game. We have outproduced our opponents on the ships that are the same tech level as his. Here we go.
Enemy
And we don't even need the fleet supply.
Alter course. Adjust heading. Alter course.
Let's kill this for the extra experience. And this ambassador, once it recovers, we can commence an attack on the enemy starbase. Ambassadors are really tough ships, especially with the energy routing. They can just stand in front of a starbase and take it like a man.
Fire, full burst.
Now with all the resources coming in, we might as well start researching improved weapons, and we can take a look if we can find a third dilithium moon. We could have gone for another shipyard here, actually, if we wanted to. We could even wait and save up for a Euradi yard. Excelsior 2s are pretty slow and should mix well with Akiras, which are also slower vessels. Swarpin is ready. Let's send in another one. No, I didn't scout. Oh, hello. One Akira. This is excellent. More firepower. Exactly what we need to engage the enemy starbase.
All crews stand ready.
Ambassador in the front, energy routing on, and with the improved integrity fields, the ambassador is going to be an extra hard nut to crack. See what this does. The fleet supply just increases the firepower immensely. It adds an extra torpedo launcher with 1 second delay. See, these are evenly matched, but we have defensive patterns, our opponent does not. It would be nice if you did not wander off.
Starship. Enemy engaged.
This Akira is mine, I want it.
Find the nearest shipyard. Find the nearest shipyard.
Okay, let's stop now.
Unable to transport.
Massive lag spike. And
Alter course.
let's throw a GG out for our opponent,
Adjust heading.
because this is pretty much it.
Entering coordinates. Alter course. Helm. New course heading. Status report. Armed and ready. Adjust heading. Adjust heading.
Let's recruit this, and more importantly, let's begin recruiting our miners. And I believe this might be it. Okay, well, this was the tech-based Akira rush done with Admiral Mason. On reflections,